Path of Night is an actual play Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the classic world of darkness. We're all friends, we're here to have fun, but our story can include graphic violence, drug use, sexual content, and other mature themes. We've talked at our table about safety, comfort, and consent, both as players and storytellers. We know what to expect, we're all excited to be here, and we want you to feel the same. So, listener discretion is advised. Now, let's walk the Path of Night.
Last time on Path of Night, engaging Miles in a car chase through the streets of New Haven, the followers of Set attempted to assassinate their venture enemy. Thanks to Johnny and Wynn, along with Britta's disturbing proficiency with a gun, the Setites were foiled. The coterie managed to maintain the masquerade despite all of the mayhem, while Neil tied up loose ends with a straggler among the Setites. Weary and drenched in blood, the coterie finally made its way to Miles' haven. So, Miles, we're going to pick up at your haven. Can you give us a quick description as to what that looks like?
Yeah, it's a converted brownstone, which has basically brought the property next to it. It's surrounded by trees and shrubs, giving it a cover from visibility all around it. Wrought iron fence and such to keep things out.
Great, so the group of you pull in, and the coterie starts to regroup. As they head in, what's it like inside?
Is a very open floor plan. It's a kind of a mix of modern and antiques over the place. The dining room, the living room, the kitchen is all visible from as soon as you enter in.
All right. I always gotta give it to you, man. Your house is really nice.
It's really clean, like shockingly clean.
Well, you know, presentation is a big part of this.
Before she gets inside, Wynn stands outside and unlaces her boots and rolls up the cuffs of her pants just to make sure she doesn't track anything in. Do you have a shower I can run to real quick?
Yes, there's appropriate showers in the basement for you.
Okay.
Johnny, you might... I mean, you guys can take turns, but...
I think we all might need... there's a lot of blood between all of us.
Yes. Marco should be... coming along, he's been prepared, and we should be able to start getting all situated so that we can have a nice, relaxing talk.
Almost on cue, you guys can hear the footfalls of an individual heading downstairs. Your retainer approaches the coterie. Miles, it seems that the group of your friends have been through quite a night.
Yeah, Marcos, we're going to need a little bit of some clothes, some cleaning up. It looks like we had an unfortunate meet-up with some Setites.
Looks amongst the group of you. The Setites again.
Yes.
Very well, I'll see to this right away.
So, you want to explain how you got in this bad with the Setites?
Well,
he goes wandering off.
After showers.
I mean...
Or is that going to be another tomorrow night problem?
No, we can talk about it now. It's very, very pertinent to things going on, because I feel like, based on what we just heard about Nosfrit and this particular attack, then... Nofrit. Sure. Whatever they want to call themselves.
Johnny kind of cracks a smile.
I'm sorry, but those were Setites? Are they kindred like us?
Yes and no.
To hell, go with them. Call them vampires, it's fine. Just be careful, because the older types in the Camarilla get a little bit snotty when you use those terms.
You can use that word with us.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You can say it around us, it's fine, but you might want to get in the habit of saying kindred.
Yeah.
It's a good habit. It's a good idea.
They are a particular type of kindred that is more snake-themed, in a sense.
What do you mean by snake-themed?
They have a particular set of powers and such that seem to be all about snake stuff. They get snake skin, they get fangs, they like to do snake... It's very...
Their gaze can be hypnotic.
It's a lot. They're very...
My buddy Kabir explained it to me like this. They come from out by Egypt. They worship old snake gods in the desert. It's like that movie with Schwarzenegger, you know, where he fights the snake god.
Terminator.
Conan.
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
Old ancient snake
Terminator.
It's the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking Schwarzenegger movie.
I said Junior, so...
But that's...
It's a funnier one.
One of the clans? Is that the word you were using?
It is a clan of vampires, yes.
And sometimes you'll hear people say bloodlines, families. There's all kinds of terms for it.
But they are not officially part of the Camarilla.
Why not?
Because some of them don't like the rules that the Camarilla instills.
They're an independent sect.
So they get to not follow the rules, but they also don't really receive the protections.
They kind of receive the protections. Because no one wants to start shit with them.
Well, I mean, we just killed one of their sorcerers.
Well, they were trying to kill us first, and like my daddy always said, when someone tries to kill you, you kill them back.
Well, about that, why were they after you in particular?
Well, it has come down that a particular job this group took upon ourselves ended with the death of a favorite ghoul of theirs. A very strong and terrifying cat thing. We may have mistook it for being tougher than it was, and it was killed succinctly and messily.
I'm sorry, I thought you said they were snakes.
Yes, but that's the whole Egyptian thing. Apparently they do stuff with cats. I don't really understand it and haven't had an opportunity to really question them on it since
I know there's a lot you don't remember. Do you remember any of the world's history at all?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember how Egyptians worshipped cats?
Yes.
Think of that kind of dynamic.
But the cat thing, it was a ghoul?
A very old ghoul, and it may have destroyed a wall or two before we decided that it probably needed to be put down.
We, by the way, when we say ghoul, we don't mean vampire. Ghouls are another kind of creature that our kind can make.
Make how?
Our blood's addictive, and all you need to do is feed a little bit of that kind of drug to somebody, and they get hooked like nothing else.
Wait, does that mean I'm a ghoul?
No, a mortal. Somebody means a mortal, like a regular person.
But the
Or
blood's
an animal. Or an animal.
But the blood is powerful enough to blood bond other vampires. That's why we were so mad about the prince making you drink his blood. Imagine what that can do to a mortal. That's why we call them ghouls.
A mortal, a cat, any other animal, they can all be turned into a ghoul through feeding the blood.
I have one. He's a fisher cat. His name is Chaps. He's really helpful.
I always forget his name is Chaps.
It's Chaps.
Honestly, the longer that you live this weird unlife, you'll find that our blood can do all kinds of crazy shit.
I mean, Marcos himself is a ghoul. Mm. And this gives him some of our strengths and very little of our weaknesses.
By the way, has he taken my shirt or something like that?
I don't think that can be saved.
Well, no, but I mean, Johnny takes off his leather jacket.
Yeah, he will be coming. Let's not move too far from the entryway until he gets here. I
also don't think we should talk too much more about this before we've actually gotten fully in the house.
Well, yeah, we're in the entryway to the house. It's still open, but
honestly, anywhere on the property here is generally pretty good, so long as you're not smooshing your face up against the fence.
He heads back with a couple changes of clothes, a lot of it actually out of Miles's wardrobe. Which one of you is taking the shower first? There are 3 available bathrooms for it.
Well,
I'll go first.
I'm not that dirty, so you guys can...
I haven't had a shower in quite literally a month.
Marcos, this is Britta, by the way.
Hi, it's good to meet you.
Hello, Britta. It's my very good pleasure to meet you. Is there anything else you'll need?
I'll probably need a shower and a change of clothes later, too, but for now I think I'd like to talk a bit more.
Sounds great. I'll see you done.
Johnny just unbuttons his flannel. He's got like a black, A-shirt, undershirt. He's kind of used to this kind of dirty business happening, so prepares in advance. Dark jeans, so he just kind of takes off the shirt, wipes some of the blood off of his leather jacket, and kind of tosses the flannel to Marco.
It kind of slaps onto him. His face becomes one of revulsion, and then he plasters on a smile and nods, and then wanders off with the bloody clothes.
Oh, Marco, before you go.
Yes?
Do you happen to have gloves?
Yes. I was just going to go get them.
Oh, thank you.
If we want to talk a little bit more before bathing and things like that, do you want to just throw a tarp over a couch, or do you want us to just stand in the foyer here?
Let them get cleaned up first. It's a good... Let's get a little... de-stressed out, Then we'll talk, because I don't particularly want all of this crap all over my house.
I get it. Britta said she wanted to talk some more. I'm trying to find a nice middle ground.
Johnny pats a hand on Miles' back. Don't worry, buddy. I'm sure you can afford to get a new couch. And goes striding into the common room, pulling out his cigarettes.
I like that couch.
Miles, is it alright if I smoke a joint in your shower?
In the shower is fine.
Thank you.
Why don't you guys go do it now? We have 3 bathrooms.
Wynn goes
Literally-
down to the basement because that's where she's been told the shower is. She definitely takes advantage of the fact that this is a shower that is not cold, that there is shampoo and, like, body wash. If there's a loofah, she doesn't use it.
Do
But
we even mind if a shower's cold or hot?
this is a nice luxury. It makes her pretend that she's still human. Her skin gets warm. When she gets out, she'll take the surplus clothes that Marcos has offered. She kind of looks almost forlornly at the flannel shirt she had been wearing that's now been rended. Like she knows she has to throw it away and she doesn't want to. From one of the rips, she manages to tear off the button front, and she wraps it around her wrist, and then she just kind of takes the dirty clothes and puts them in the garbage. Definitely takes her time with the joint.
As Britta's walking off, or not Britta, as Wynn is walking off, Neil is sort of lean over towards Britta and be like, okay, so she's going to go downstairs and smoke. It doesn't actually do anything. She's kind of moving it around in her body. But, you know, get a couple of mortals high and feed off of them and you can still get high. If that's something that you're interested in. I don't know. I don't know you that well.
Why would she do it if it doesn't work?
Habit. It's relaxing. There's a mental stimulation to it in the same way that Johnny's smoking, and he sort of nods over towards Johnny on the couch. Mm. He's not getting anything out of that, but
Speak for yourself.
But mentally, kind of habits.
Do those sorts of habits help maintain what it's like to be human?
A sense of normalcy, yeah.
Hey, by the way, how many times did you get perforated back there?
I got shot once.
Where'd you get hit?
She pulls aside, like, what's left of her shirt to find that it's, like, right in the rib cage.
Oh, that's a good one.
You
might want to, if you focus on your midsection, just really think about that. You can feel you can maybe almost push your blood that way.
Britta closes her eyes and she focuses, clearly not knowing exactly what she's doing, but she can feel the blood moving in her body. And as she pushes, it does actually move towards the spot.
By expending a trait of blood, you can heal levels of damage on a 1-for-1 basis, so long as it isn't aggravated damage. So, when Britta starts to focus, it isn't long before everyone can kind of hear the, like, the metal sound of the bullet dropping out onto the ground as her wound is closed.
Johnny goes over, snatches up the bullet, takes a look at it. It doesn't look like it's anything weird, right?
Nope.
Tosses it over to Britta. Souvenir for you.
She catches it and looks down at it, still pretty shaken by the fact that it was in her body. Thank you. But these Setites, right?
Yes.
They're the same sort of thing as... They're a clan, like Ventru.
Yes.
What are the other clans?
Oh, there's
Depends
a
on who you
bunch.
ask.
Yeah. I mean, there was ones in the Camarilla.
Well, let's talk about the Camarilla first
Yeah.
and foremost.
Should we just talk about ourselves? Is that...
Hey, it might even be a better idea.
You're
So-
the one who started.
Ventru. We have a tendency to be in charge of many things in the areas.
Their symbol is a scepter. I think you could probably imagine why.
Partially because we're just some of the most organized clans.
Okay, that's fair.
And
Don't you guys have merit badges or something?
we have our own structure, our own schooling, our own learning.
So he's a Ventru. I'm a Bruja. We are kind of in contrast to the Ventru. Maybe not quite as organized, but what we lack in organization we make up for in passion. Guys like Weathers. Did you meet Jane?
I think there was a woman standing next to Weathers at some point, but...
We roll together kind of like more like a gang than a corporation like the Ventru. And we tend to wear our hearts on our sleeves.
And leather jackets.
Is that part of the power, or...?
No, it's just an aesthetic choice.
I don't know. It might actually be part of the power.
Oh, me. I looked over to Wynn, but she's not here. I'm a Malkavian. I don't know how to do. We're pretty normal. People say that isn't true, necessarily. A lot of people talk about Malkavians like we're all crazy. Don't really trust us too much. Talking about organizational skills. But I like to think of it like we see things that other people don't see. Given to insight and odd behavior is what people think. And it suits for people to think that.
And we are the clans we are because of our sires?
Because of our blood.
Because of our blood, and that's why we don't know whatever I am.
We don't know, but I have suspicions.
What are they?
I mean...
She might be a Bruja.
She's not a Bruja.
What?
Wynn comes back in the room and she's towel drying her hair. She has on like a men's white undershirt, pair of pants that she's kind of taken a hair tie and knotted so that they fit her.
Miles has surprisingly broad shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's all the shoulder pads.
By the way, we were telling Britta about our bloodlines.
Oh.
We all went. That's your turn.
So the name of my clan is Gangrel. We're wanderers. We're very in touch with nature. Very survival based. The social scene, it's not really our thing. We are tight as a group. We will support one another. But right now we're having some problems with the Camarilla. And I don't know how that's going to shake out right now.
Problems like with the traditions, the laws they were talking about, or?
I don't know that I should say a whole lot about it, to be perfectly honest, because...
Tell her.
So there's a power structure in the Camarilla. It's... Basically, our governing body is the Justicariat. Each clan has a Justicar who speaks for their clan. The Gangrel Justicar left the Camarilla, but said that any of the clan who were welcome to stay could. There aren't many of us who made the choice to stay. A lot of us left to help Xavier.
Why did you say?
Neil kind of positions himself so that he's directly between Miles and Johnny and kind of waves a hand at the three of them together.
That. Oh. I have been alone for a long time. And that's not uncommon for my clan. As I said, we're not overly social, but the people that we choose, we stand by.
So, characteristics like that, like you not being overly social, or Neil appearing and disappearing, those things are normal?
They are consistent with the blood that we have. My blood is much happier and better suited towards fighting, speaking with animals, and...
Yeah, it's a neat trick.
And
that's what I can teach you.
Well, something like my senses being on overdrive, that hearing things really well, that might have something to do with my bloodline.
There's some crossover in the Venn diagram. Yeah.
Crossover in the Venn diagram. What does that... Some of you share powers?
Mm-hmm.
Some of us?
It's why I recognize the way you were looking around that room. We can talk about it at some point, but the ability to hear like that, to sharpen your senses, it's something I'm familiar with. A lot of Malkavians can do it.
Can't we talk about it now if there's...
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know what I am. I don't know how to use any of it, and it seems like we'll need to.
Well, chances are we could probably figure it out. Considering the fact that you were embraced, made a vampire here in New Haven, kind of limits some of the clans.
I couldn't be a Setite.
Well...
Based on what you've shown us, you're probably not.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've got my suspicions. I assume, based on the way Miles was looking earlier, he's got some too.
Based on what you've said and based on how you were moving in the car.
Oh, what was she doing in the car?
The point is, there's not too many
fast.
other clans that belong to the Camarilla. And when another clan moves in on a city, it becomes pretty clear that they're around. So really, the other clans that we have to look at are the Nosferatu.
But you're not a Nosferatu.
Which you're not.
You ain't one of them. Remember Shaw?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharkface?
Yeah.
They all look like that. Well, not just like him.
There's something that happens to each clan. It's sort of the price of the power of our blood.
A curse.
Okay, we can call it a
I
curse.
mean, it's a good way to put it.
That makes it seem like it's unworkable, but that's just me. My clan, Alright, so if I ever get too low on blood, I can enter a frenzy. Every vampire can. When I frenzy, I take on animal forms. So eventually, I'm not gonna look like me anymore.
You don't think she was born with those beautiful little blue-green eyes of hers, do you?
No.
We can talk more about the curses, but let's focus on the rest of the clans first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So aside from the Nosferatu, there's the Tremere.
Mm-hmm.
That's Reese.
Yeah.
The Tremere focus on...
blood magic.
Wynn looks like she is distinctly
It seems,
angered by the knowledge of this man existing.
It seems as though each bloodline has their own powers, but the Tremere focus on unlocking all of the potential of what their blood can do in weird ways. I don't particularly like to think about it too much, but...
Sorcery.
That.
They have their own structure, too. So they have an internal structure to themselves.
But because of what we're seeing you do, I don't think you're Tremere either.
Not if it's true. Miles said you moved real fast when you were in that car.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that before.
Also, she apparently knows how to fire a gun.
Well, the other clan that we didn't mention are the Toreador. You remember Elsa Linden?
Yes.
That's Clan Toreador. They kind of sit in between all the rest of the clans. They almost act like a nice bit of glue. Keep the Camarilla functioning, and they kind of temper all of the tempers of all of the clans.
Well, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're insufferable in their own ways.
They see the beauty of creation.
Johnny rolls his eyes a little bit.
They see themselves.
They can also see the beauty in themselves.
They have a thing about aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like, the same way the Setites have a thing about snakes, or...
Kinda.
Yeah, it's a pretty good...
Setites do snakes.
I've heard stories about old Toreador locking themselves away in castles or mansions with piles of art, just going crazy, collecting massive amounts of paintings or sculpture, and they just sit around, withering away to nothing, looking at it.
Wait, art specifically?
Well,
All kinds of art.
Sometimes.
I've heard even crazier stories about weird kinds of art that Toreador get obsessed with.
Well, when I was
dance.
at the Elysium,
Skin.
right?
Uh-huh.
I saw a painting and there was something really... I mean, it was gorgeous. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before in my life. I wanted to keep staring at it, but we had something to be... Does that sound...
I was gonna say, I think there's something to be said that, your senses are heightened in a similar manner to mine. If what Miles says is true, you can move as fast as Johnny can. And the first time I ever saw you, you were staring wide-eyed with wonder at a piece of modern art.
Didn't something similar happen to that kid Romeo a few years back?
Yeah, last year.
yeah.
Was that just last year?
It was like a year ago.
I don't know if we ever got confirmation of what clan he believes he is.
He's
It's
Toreador.
Yeah. That's why he's hanging around with Lyndon so much.
Did she take accounting on him?
I can't
I believe
remember.
she took responsibility, yeah.
So then, yeah.
So I might be a Toreador.
It's a good guess.
Hell,
That's
you
the
might
front
be
runner.
you might be Romeo's broodmate for all we know.
I mean, two young, teenage, early 20s, good-looking people suddenly getting snatched off the street, turning, embraced as Toreador and let loose.
Does he
within a
have
year.
any recollection of who he was or the events leading up to his embrace?
I don't know. Romeo doesn't talk to me too much.
Well, was he brought in the same way that I was, without a known
Yes.
sire?
Yeah, he was just found.
If that's
Same
the
as you.
case, I bet you anything else Linda knows more about this than she was letting on.
Probably.
I mean, we used Weather's connections to get information from her, but it'd be just like her to be using us like that. And
Well-
using Weather's.
Who is his sire that must have been discovered at some point, no?
Not necessarily.
Once the accounting happens and somebody's taken responsibility, they care a little bit less, as long as they don't screw up.
Also, some of these folks think on a really long timeline.
Apologies for interrupting. Ms. Britta, did you want that shower?
Yes, please. If you all don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Please, right this way.
Thank you, Marco.
Britta, was it?
Yes.
Marcos kind of mentions while the two of you are headed towards the bath that he's prepared for you. Apologies for my forwardness, but I overheard a bit of a discussion about the blood bond.
Yes, the prince had me drink from him.
I see. Well, I admit I have an admittedly unusual relationship with the blood bond.
What's unusual about it?
Miles has granted me immortality. I will never age so long as his vitae remains in my blood.
So you chose this? I'm sorry if that's too personal.
I choose this. This is a choice that I must make continuously. However, there is a loyalty that it instills into those who drink. You see, the blood bond is not something that can be created in a single night. This is a process. On the first night, you drink, and you will find that you think of this individual more frequently. Bring them up in conversations, become curious to find yourself in places that you think they might travel through.
It felt more like he was trying to protect me or bring me in after.
Yes.
That's not real?
No.
Oh.
No, if this man sought to blood bond you, and hadn't bothered to tell you what that even entails, I imagine this individual was a predator, seeking to take advantage of you. You see, because on the second night, it creates a sense of loyalty. You will seek to help him. His desires will become your desires. You will aim to please him. And on the third night, you are bound, a slave to his blood.
If you don't mind me asking this, which are you?
I am bound to Miles.
Fully?
Yes.
Is it... You said you choose this... reversible?
Not that I know of. But, as I understand it, or have come to believe, this is the first step towards becoming one of the kindred. If I perform well, if I am loyal, perhaps Miles will one night find me worthy.
And ask for the right of creation?
Similar, yes. Progeny.
Progeny. Right. I'm sorry.
No need to apologize to me. I just work here. But yes, if I prove worthy, he may seek permission from the prince to make me one of the ventriloquiers. And I will go from being a slave, a servant, to a king. He opens the door to the bathroom and kind of like see this bath that he ran for you, very carefully prepared, and there's a towel, and there's clothing, and there's like a little scented candle. It looks like he went through a bit of extra effort to help comfort you. Perhaps he is noticing that you look stressed.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I'm happy to help.
She'll go in. What clothing has been left for her?
It's not exactly the height of fashion. It's like gym clothes, but it's clean.
That's all she
folded.
wants.
It's going to give what you need. He excuses himself, of course, and shuts the door behind him. And for a time, you're left alone to contemplate your new reality.
While Britta's in the bath, the hot water, she takes a moment to try to heat up her hands to see if she can make them feel normal again. You
find that when focusing on it, the blood stirs just like it did when you were healing yourself from that bullet wound. And in time, your skin becomes flush and warm, and it starts to regain some of the tan, if you will, that it had.
Even the touch of frost?
That never quite goes away. but the color, like, you become more flush and alive looking.
Well, after a moment of frustration trying to get her hands to resemble the blush of health on the rest of her, she'll bathe, and she'll change, and she'll come back down.
I mean, this process takes quite a while. But when it's done, you tiptoe back downstairs, and Marcos is already waiting by the staircase to kind of lead you down. He's actually, he's very subservient and unthreatening, kind of like an unobtrusive posture while he guides you along. And you return to the coterie.
Feel better?
I definitely feel better, yes.
Good.
I move over towards Marcus. I'm like, I think I'm going to need some of the local musicians called up to be paid. It was an exciting night.
I see. I'll make preparations right away.
Very good. Thank you, Marcus.
Of course.
We're
He goes
going
and he
to...
wanders off. A little pep in his steps because, Miles asked him to do something.
Johnny's sitting actually on a side chair by one of the windows. It's cracked open, and he's taking drags off his cigarette and flicking it out the window. He's actually already changed into a pair of kind of ill-fitting jeans and a white shirt that look like they're probably from some label that doesn't really, fit him.
If they knew they were on him, they'd be a little disappointed.
Exactly.
Yeah, my shredded shirt is gone, and I am now wearing a shirt similar to the one he's wearing, but it fits me very well.
I also picture him in a smoking jacket, but
It's a little off-brand. But, basically a white shirt that's got, a couple buttons undone, and then...
Look at you, kid.
Very casual.
Shower did you well. Looks like you're almost alive.
I don't know if I feel alive's the right word for it, but...
No, it's definitely not the right word, but... close enough.
We're listening to music later?
Oh. Ooh. Miles, you want to take this one?
Well-
She's under your accounting.
Yes. To be fair, yes, we'll probably listen to some music, because that is what we'll pay them for. But at the same time, I use my particular influence to make feeding for myself easier.
Oh,
That's been explained, right?
feeding, which part of it? How often we need to do it? I'm not sure.
Drinking blood from people.
I kind of figured out that part on my own, but how often, how much, how do we make sure we don't kill them?
That takes practice.
A little bit.
What did you explain to her when you were in that side room? Anything?
I had time to assess the situation to see if she could be saved.
Far be it from me. I've never taken anyone through my accounting. But damn, we got a lot to explain, huh?
Right. Well, if she wasn't going to make it through the night, it wasn't
so
kind of worth it to explain feeding at that
to
point.
answer
Johnny raises
part
up a hand to kind of be like, yeah, fair enough.
to answer part of that, you kind of have to gauge yourself and how hungry you are. If you don't use much, you're not going to need to eat as much.
You'll have to use at least a little bit to rouse yourself every night.
Yep.
Every time that you focus your blood somewhere, that's going to be using a little bit of it. That gut bullet wound. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing that blush in your cheeks.
I think that's
She's also
been there.
brand new. That might be
Shine hasn't worn
Maybe.
off yet.
possible.
Every time that you move quickly.
And there are people that never lose it.
True.
There's also
All these things could be draining you of vitae.
But the reason that you found me was that I was hunting wrong, that I was getting caught.
That
How
was
do
your
we...
first time. Everyone's first time starts with a frenzy.
And depending on the circumstances,
Often.
people, they put them in better situations.
Yeah.
They're controllable. It doesn't always lead to death in the first time.
No.
Beyond that, though, just moving forward, it's better to take a little bit from a lot than a lot from one.
The Camarilla likes to make it so that it's not so traumatic, but honestly, I think embrace tends to be more towards the norm like you had, kid.
And there are things to it. As you're counting, I will start a guide and then we'll see if a particular way fits you or not. But there are a couple things that... We're predators, and we have a couple things to help us make it better for our prey and make us less detectable.
So you don't have to kill the musicians.
I try not to very often. I like the musicians and their music. It's kind of my job.
The Camarilla frowns on creating too much public notice of us. So that means that if we kill people, that's going to bring attention for the most part.
You fed.
Yeah.
The first time, yeah, but also off the prince. And I know we were talking about blood bonds and things, but do you remember, and I know it's different, but do you remember how it felt when you were feeding off the prince? Good, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to say
good.
it. We're all...
We've done it before.
Well, not that, but that's, unless something's gone horribly wrong, what it feels like for a mortal.
Wait. It feels...
Good.
Why wouldn't it be painful?
It's, yeah, I don't know what it is about it. You know, I'm sure you could talk to some Tremere and they'd know, or all sorts of armchair philosophers, but yeah, once you're in, now, how you get in can spark a lot of trauma, but once you're there, it feels good.
It's kind of like a poison, some say. Some is spiritual or magical, but basically...
My buddy Kabir put it like this. When a kindred feeds on a mortal, it's like a lover's embrace. They just want to be there. They want you to drink their blood.
And you will do it differently, like you would use, you said, your influence to call up musicians.
I use my influence to make my job a lot easier.
Everybody hunts a little different.
That's also something the Toreador are good at, is because they're artists, they can develop a following.
Also, I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, because they're generally kind of hot, it's a little easier to get somebody to, you know, come into a dark alley or whatever.
But it's also a pretty good judge of character.
Yes.
You watch how somebody feeds, tells you a lot about the person. Because the fact that we can make it pleasant and not have to kill somebody, well, not all of our kind like it that way. Some of them like to make it messy.
Well, to the end, we're still people to certain degrees, and there are some people out there who just like to cause pain.
The people who do that aren't people anymore.
Is there a particular clan that does that?
None in the Camarilla.
Setites?
No, not the Setites.
I think it's more like an individual choice.
Yes, yeah. There's no particular clan that embraces just causing...
Johnny has a really hard stare for a bit. The Sabbat like it messy.
The Sabbat?
The Camarilla are one society of kindred. The other society that are jealous of what the Camarilla has are the Sabbat. They tend to be the worst of our kind.
Yeah, but generally just like little nomadic packs and things. You know, groups of zealous psychopaths.
You don't know them like I do.
No, I know. I'm just talking about generalities.
But they're not a clan. They're not like... It's not like the Setites and the Sabbat.
No.
They are made of multiple clans, much like the Camarilla.
Some different ones than exist in the Camarilla.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about the Sabbat. That's... Johnny knows more than we do.
Do they have traditions like the Camarilla?
Probably.
They have to have things to keep them together. Otherwise it'd be pure anarchy.
Which is also a thing.
They're more like a cult.
A cult?
Yeah. I don't know their particular beliefs, but they have a fascination with who they are as monsters.
I can tell you more about it. I don't know if you need to be scared about them right now.
And there's also... knowing too much about them is sometimes problematic.
But if you're curious, kid, ask away. I won't hold back.
Would I know one if I saw them?
Oh yeah.
How?
They don't revel in remembering that they were once human. They take all of the gifts that make them monster and they accentuate them.
How do they get by without showing our existence?
Sometimes they just don't care about that. And if there aren't any survivors, nobody knows they were there. Just a massacre.
And you've had to deal with them?
Yeah. It was a tough embrace for me. A run-in with the Sabbat that went sideways.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's all right.
Do they have anything to do with... You said that they revel in their monstrous nature. Do they make other things monstrous?
I have a feeling that there might be some connection with that thing in Wynn's fridge.
I agree. That's a much longer talk. You had other questions about who you are. Let's build this castle on stone instead of sand.
That's a good point. Speaking of who you are, you still don't remember anything?
I was hoping that it might come back in bits and pieces, but really all that's come back so far is my name.
She might recover some after her first sleep.
She might, but she also, if she doesn't, I wasn't just reading newspaper listings to check out the funnies.
I never think you do.
You found something?
Maybe.
You might want to read the funnies once in a while. It might help lighten you up a bit.
Marmaduke is just too big. Yeah, there's, you know how I was talking about? You can sort of see things. It's just more about being observational. There's a place, an old cafe that shut down a while ago, and somebody, matching your very description, purchased the deed to the property.
When?
Not too long ago.
How exactly did you figure this out?
You look at the real estate listings and, small town news. Plus, just, like I said, she's a Capricorn.
Johnny gives you a very puzzled look like, yeah, right, dude, and continues smoking his cigarette.
So, anyways, it doesn't matter. It's more about, we've got, I talked to Miles a little bit about it, but we'll, if we just pull some property deeds, maybe send somebody over to the building and department.
Well, Neil, that's incredible. Did you get anything? Like my last name or a birthday or...
No, sorry. No, just that. Just that you... definitely you. Probably.
Definitely probably.
There's no such thing as definites.
Got it.
Well...
You did find that she's a Capricorn, though, and that does give a range of birthdays.
I think that was...
But it's based on her embrace.
Yeah.
Right now is Capricorn time.
Yeah.
Wait,
Vampire
I've got
birthday.
2 birthdays.
You're...
In a sense, yes.
In a sense, kinda.
Regardless, something about this cafe, is there anything that stood out about it? Anything important? Like anything...
It's a nice property.
We haven't really...
Definitely a nice property, but again, it's been a busy night. We're going to have to do a little bit of digging, send somebody over to building records, and hopefully pull a name off a deed. And maybe tomorrow night, or sometime soon, we can just take an amble by. Worst comes to worst, somebody sees you and goes, oh, hey, Britta, what's her face?
That might not be the best of things, but...
Also something I was going to bring up. We may not want to do that. For all intents and purposes, you're dead.
Another thought, kid. You don't know your last name right now, but, some vampires take this opportunity to remake themselves. If we don't find out who you are, you can at least decide who you want to be.
It's hard to figure out where to go when I don't know where I've been. And right now, all I really know is that I don't want to be what I started off as.
I get that.
I want to figure out how to feed without killing, or how to move forward in the Camarilla without breaking these traditions that I don't even know what the rest of them are. What else should I know when...
So the rest of the traditions, my dear prince and his domain. That's the acronym for how you remember them. Or how I do, anyway. First one is the masquerade. We don't let the people that we used to be know what we've become, or that we exist at all.
Or that there are strange things in the night. Because that leads to questions.
Theoretically, yes. What other creepy things do in the night? There's only so much we can do about that. If we can cover it, we do. That's why I shoved the thing in my fridge.
Yes, and there are many different kindred out there working to keep a lot of this under wraps to varying degrees.
What other creatures are there? You were dealing with something...
Take your pick, kid. There's all kinds of weird shit out there on the road.
So tonight, I wasn't going to come to the party anyway, because fuck a whole lot of that. Elysium politics, you've seen, not my shtick. So the part about becoming kindred for me that was easy to accept was that there were other monsters out there, because I have seen monsters and things my entire life. I have a fairly working relationship with creatures called wraiths. What is it that you think a wraith is?
It sounds... I feel like I've heard of something like a ghost.
That's more or less it. It's the spirit of a dead person who is lingering, having trouble moving on. Usually their death was traumatic, or they had a strong tie to someone here. But either way, they can't move along. And so sometimes people like me who can see spirits and ghosts and other invisible things, they'll reach out to us, we'll work together. But I met a little boy tonight named Joey. His face was all torn off and he had run away from home, and some terrible creature had chased him through the woods and killed him. He didn't know he was dead yet, but he knew that people couldn't see him and he wanted to say goodbye to his mom.
Weren't you interacting with him during the Elysium?
Yes. Because there are some fuckers, some outright monsters in the Camarilla 2 who will imprison wraiths and use them. And they will take these little lost children and they will use them.
Wynn, tonight's maybe bring it down a peg.
Neil walks over and, puts a calming hand on Wynn's shoulder.
I'm sorry.
You don't gotta be sorry.
No,
I've been there myself.
Again,
I don't want to be one of the monsters she sees when she looks at me, though.
You're okay.
I don't think you're a monster.
I appreciate that, kiddo. But yeah, there's a few active wraiths in the area. Joey was new. There's another member of my clan who left the Camarilla. She works as an independent now. She probably knows more about all this. We should talk to her eventually.
Okay.
In terms of other monsters, Elsa Linden was chased out of her domain by werewolves.
She used to be a prince.
Yeah.
Werewolves, like in the movies?
Way
Similar.
worse.
Lupines, generally, is how they're referred to. Werewolves is just easier to... much like the term vampires.
All sorts of stuff out there.
So my clan can take on werewolf lupine-esque tendencies, but these are actual shape changers.
But the dead boy, the one that you were the wraith?
Joey, yes.
What kind of person... Is it a clan that takes advantage of wraiths, or...
You have to be able to see them, so that can strike anywhere.
I've heard there are families that are specialized in that sort of thing.
There are magics out there that can bind wraiths, sorceries that can bend them to your will.
Who in the court?
The Seneschal, Reese, had him bound to him.
There may be others, but that's the one we're aware of.
Not a lot of Tremere in the area.
And are werewolves a current problem?
Not in New Haven.
Thankfully not.
Only for Elise.
Something you should
Elsa.
probably know,
Elsa.
though. Don't leave the city. Don't go on a road trip. Don't even really get too far out into the suburbs.
Is that part of the traditions?
No, it's just a really good tip not to die.
If you need to go somewhere, I know some of the safe routes to get people around between the cities.
Johnny's like magic when it comes to that kind of stuff. He can just get you place to place.
The world has become a very dangerous place.
Pretty much, there's all kinds of things that you can think of. Monsters under the bed. It's probably something out there that does that.
I saw a UFO once.
Well, now we're just being ridiculous.
If you say so.
Well, back to the traditions. There was the masquerade and...
Domain.
Domain.
So technically, this is Miles's turf. Without his permission, feeding around here, think of it like poaching. It's kind of a no-no.
This is his domain?
Yes.
His domain within the domain. I know there's a lot of cross-nomenclature.
Yeah. I get a little area that is designated to be mine, and feeding rights are mine in that area.
But he has that because the prince said, this is my area, I now gift it to you. The entire domain of New Haven belongs to the prince.
Mm-hmm. He and the Primogen Council kind of divvy up feeding grounds and things like that. But this is Miles.
So you all have domains in the domain?
No. Some of us aren't that cool. Some of us have to make do where we can.
There are areas that are much more open. And then there are places outside the city to a certain degree that allow for other people to feed.
Like the rack.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else in the traditions that I need to know?
Oh, yes.
Don't make other vampires.
I think we've nailed that one home for you.
Yeah,
tonight.
that one should be pretty obvious for you, I think. But you can't make kindred without the prince's permission.
If we're going by the old traditions, the vampire that makes another vampire and the vampire who's made usually are both put to death.
That's
final death.
That's why Johnny and Miles were so vested in trying to keep you alive.
And then on top of that, not killing other vampires.
It's the flip side of don't make them is don't kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Not without specific permission again, or if there is...
That's the right of destruction.
We got a little bit of a pass today because technically, how we were talking about how Setites aren't actually in the Camarilla.
And not the Sabbat, they're something else.
The traditions apply to the Camarilla.
Technically, the domain thing, if someone is found wandering in another prince's domain, they are not necessarily obligated to keep them alive for questioning.
Yeah.
It's good policy because you never know who you're going to piss off, but...
You want to go ask for hospitality,
Yeah.
things like that.
And that's why you shouldn't leave this domain, is because you don't know yet whose domain you're walking into, and you haven't called ahead to make reservations and make sure that your bidet is ready or whatever it is the harpies actually do.
Yeah,
If someone like Miles were to wander around, he might be in a little bit better shape because he pulls some water in New Haven, so other princes might be unwilling to touch him.
Somebody like
you?
Yeah.
You're barely being tolerated here. I think they'd have free reign to pick you apart elsewhere.
Yeah.
To be fair, we'll be teaching you this, and then in the end, you'll be able to know who to contact, or even in this domain or another one you want to get from one domain to another.
You don't have to get everything out today.
Right. Mm-hmm. But there are courtesies and niceties and such that can be...
Right now, let's stick to New Haven. And to the creatures and traditions that I need to know about. Is that all of the traditions?
My dear prince in his domain, and is for accounting. You know what that is.
Yes.
His hospitality.
Somewhat like toleration.
Yeah. You see, a good example. I've made a pretty decent name for myself being able to travel between domains. And the thing you really got to keep in mind about that is that a domain, it's not just feeding territory. The prince is like a medieval prince. Their rules go. If they decide that the whole domain wears red on Saturdays, that's his law. You wear red on Saturdays. But when you reach a domain, you can ask for hospitality. And it is tradition that is given to outsiders. It's not always, which is why you want to be careful, and it helps to pull some weight. But hospitality is respected. And once it's given, it is not broken unless the person breaks that trust first. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I think I only have a couple more questions that I know to ask right now.
Feel free.
The first being, you mentioned the weird skinless beasts before, Wynn?
Yeah.
What are they?
I haven't seen it. But
There are... We mentioned the Sabbat, and how there are clans there that don't exist.
Yes.
Some of them are what we call Zemitzi. And what they can do is work flesh like a sculptor would work clay.
And they're the kind that would embrace monstrosity, trying to make themselves...
They might embrace a human and turn them into a monstrosity. They might embrace an animal or ghoulify an animal.
Like I said, I haven't seen this one that you've got, but I've been close to a Zemitzi before, and the things that they make. They have all kinds of weird names for them, but they treat them like hunting dogs or hounds. Create all kinds of monstrosities that they use for all kinds of things. Making war, hunting, sometimes just for fun.
Shock factor.
Does that mean they're coming if Wynn found one?
So theoretically, it's something to consider, because...
I hope not.
I hope not too, but the animals in East Rock Park are...
It's very close, and it's not a good sign.
I know. They're frightened, they're quiet, and I found one stuck in a pit trap, so that means someone knows enough about them that they're making traps for escaped ones. And then there's the one that's in my fridge.
Which is dead?
Both of them are dead.
Completely?
As far as I can tell.
Neil kind of frowns and starts chewing on his lower lip in thought.
What killed the other one?
It fell into basically a tiger trap. It was a spike pit.
There's two. So you have two in your fridge?
I have one in my fridge.
Wait, who put a spike pit in the middle of the park?
That's what I would like to know, because I think someone is consciously making them.
The same person trying to trap them as who would be making them?
Or they escape and he wants to have a plan B.
How ill-timed.
We really need to take a look at this thing.
We do.
I don't know if we have time tonight.
Well,
I am going to go back to my house tonight, and I'm going to stop by the tiger trap and see if it's still there.
I guess.
If it's still there, I'm going to grab that one too and put it in the fridge with the
There's
other
not
one.
a lot of time before
If
sunup.
there's a Zemitzi making things out there, that means that we have a whole pack of Sabbat.
I understand.
We don't have a lone Zemitzi.
But we also have this problem with daylight, and that is coming.
Raven, my former primogen, has a lead on some of this. We're going to need to talk to her because she is aware of some folks in the area who may be up to some of this.
Oh, if you can make any phone calls you wish from here, but
Oh, Raven.
I just do not recommend it at this point. I don't know if there's more Setites running around, and we just don't have a lot of time before dawn.
Miles is right.
we've
She's low on blood. Hell, I'm low on blood.
Yep.
The Setites are probably all in a tizzy. We can't afford to just be tromping around. We really should just stick it out here for the night.
Don't hide in the sewers.
Sewers?
Neil sort of looks up as if he had just had a thought. We were talking before about monsters in New Haven. Mm-hmm. Sewers are Shaw's territory, and I'm welcome down there. They like me, but he wasn't joking about gators.
Gators do they have anything to do with the jihad he was mentioning?
Jihad is
Oh man, that'd be funny.
different. Jihad is the political game of vampires, which is much longer than the one most humans deal with. It stretches centuries, and everyone is a piece.
By looking Shaw in the eye today and saying, I'm going to play the game and I'm going to accept it. It's sort of a... I don't know how much you I don't want to oversell it, and Miles isn't going to oversell himself, but he stuck his neck out real hard today to make sure that you were okay.
It's an opening
appreciate
move.
it.
He didn't stick his neck out at all.
He looked Shaw in the eye and said, I'm going to play the game.
Oh, I thought you meant Shaw.
No, Shaw
playing-
did.
No,
Miles
I'm
did.
talking about Miles.
Oh.
No.
Thank you.
I don't know, man. You get really close up with Shaw a
I
lot.
don't know. They all chill with me. They like me. I'm
But
fine
You're a
with it.
likable guy.
it means that
I did their clan a favor.
Neil, what game did I agree to play?
You didn't agree to play anything.
It's the stupidest game
Are you sure
of
about
power.
that?
Well, Shaw looked back at Miles and said, we all play, and if you're part of the
yet again I've taken responsibility for something.
Is this game important?
Yes and no.
It's important to Miles.
Miles,
It's
what does this
important.
mean?
It means that things are going to get more complicated for me a lot earlier than I originally intended.
What does Shaw have to do with that?
He's
a
Shaw's
bigger
been playing
piece.
for a long time.
Don't dance around.
Look,
He's
it
a
has-
bishop. Miles is a pawn.
Explain what it is.
I'm
We're not
getting
playing
there.
the jihad.
Unfortunately, everyone keeps talking over me.
We finally get your beast out a little bit there, bud?
Thank you. What I was saying is that the fact that he is a player in the game, he collects boons, as you heard, from Weathers and Elsa and others, and he is gaining power due to this. He is gaining control over others and their actions because of these boons that he collects and takes. And now that I'm in the game, he's going to see me as either a threat or an ally and hasn't decided which yet. But we did threaten him, so probably not a great
Everybody's
start.
Everybody's trying to. If you play the jihad, everybody's trying to claw their way up the tower. There's only room for a few at the top.
It's the predator game of predators, essentially.
And I think what my Justicar Xavier did was basically to say, I'm not playing anymore. There are bigger things.
Except
Well,
by
that's
doing
one
that,
way
it's
to
still
look at it.
playing the game to a certain degree.
It doesn't sound like there's a way out of the game.
That is,
You're starting to get it.
yeah.
It's just being in the structure of the Camarilla.
Not just the Camarilla. Everything. The world. Just...
The politics of the humans, the things going on there,
It's about control. And one person controls everything.
That person being Shaw.
Well,
Shaw would love that.
Shaw would love that. Shaw's big around here.
But he is a small fish in a gigantic pond.
I heard it described as a wheel once.
Is it your same poet friend?
Yeah, my buddy Kabir. He describes it all as a wheel. The whole world. And when you're on different parts of the wheel, you view it very differently. But it's trying to figure out where the actual power is, and what the wheel is doing, and on what road the wheel is turning down.
And you want to get as close as you can to be in the hub.
And to be very careful about the things that aren't on the wheel, and are very jealous about it.
And also not getting caught underneath the wheel and crushed into paste.
I think I get it.
Probably not, but that's alright.
Yeah.
I think you know about as much as I do.
I mean, none of us are players. Except for Miles now.
Well, by
And
definition, we're all players, whether we want to be or not.
And being that you're closely involved with me, you are.
No, I get it. I was
Yeah.
trying to get perspective.
I appreciate the compliment, Wynn, but I'm pretty sure I'm a piece.
I know you're a tool.
A wide smile cracks on his face.
I leaned forward and put a hand up for a high five with Wynn.
With everything that we're facing, the Setites, the Semichi, is that how you say it?
Zamitsi. So you're going to find out real quick that none of us know how to pronounce anything the
Chimichi.
same way.
On
Call 'em whatever
on
you
a side
want.
note, kid, this ain't a tradition, but a word to the wise.
Yes?
Don't talk about the Sabbat when you're in amongst the Camarilla. They get real upset hearing about things like that. It's like going to a fancy dinner party and you're talking about a subject that they turn their nose up to. Except they might do more than just throw you out of the dinner party.
No talking about the Sabbat at Elysium.
Lots of illusions are allowed, though.
The thing, I don't know, has anyone explained to you what an Elysium actually is?
We covered some of the brief details earlier tonight, but essentially it is a neutral zone that is no fighting. That's why the weapons were an issue. And everyone comes together and talk, and that's usually where the prince presents himself, makes proclamations.
It's functionally a demilitarized zone. It is a place where
It's also a tradition that's outside of the Camarilla. The Camarilla are the only ones that still uphold the Elysiums. But anybody's actually allowed, as long as they respect the hospitality being given.
So we could be at Elysium and a Setite could walk in.
They have.
that seems possible, yes.
Yeah.
And they would be under the protections of Elysium until
what
they
they-
chose to violate it.
Would likely do, and has happened in the past, is just try and goad you into breaking Elysium first. They'll insult you, they'll threaten you, they'll insinuate. This is not just Setites, this is whoever.
As long as they have the power to do so. And the Setites in the city have pull with the prince.
Say anything to get your blood up so that you make the first mistake, because if you violate Elysium,
That's on
you are
you.
forfeit, and you've lost.
That's why I don't come.
It's part of the reasons why they are brazen enough to attack in the domain, is because they do have enough pull.
But nominally, when you are in Elysium, you should not fear harm coming to you.
Directly.
Physically.
You stared down Shaw tonight.
It was pretty good. It's a good start.
I have no doubt that if someone tries to get your hackles up, you're gonna be fine.
For now, until they learn where your hackles are.
Your weak
Thought-provoking
points,
as always,
hackles
Neil.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, the hackles are just a kind of a sign.
Until they find where to hit you to get your hackles up.
Yes.
There you go.
Yep.
Thank you, Miles.
Very good.
I appreciate that, but if Shaw and the Jihad is another thing that we ought to be handling, the Setites, the Smichi, what do we tackle first?
Well, the nights are going to be interesting.
I have a monster in my fridge and another in my yard. I feel like that should take some priority.
Probably
That seems reasonable.
Especially with
feed,
the other
sleep,
signs.
and get out of and go outside of main town would probably be a good idea.
I think our very first task is to listen to some music and try and make sure that you have a much easier time feeding than last.
Do I have to, or can I just... I don't want to hurt anyone again.
It would be good if you could learn with all of us here to watch you.
Don't worry, kid. I'll make sure it goes all right.
Thank you, Johnny.
Path of Night is an actual play Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the classic world of darkness. Britta, the unknown new embrace, was played by Rebecca Steigelfest. Johnny Saxon the Bruja was played by Garrett Gabbey. Miles Davenport the Ventrue was played by Tim Davis. Neil Foster the Malkavian was played by Rob Muirhead. Wynn Cabot the Gangrel was played by Erika Webb. Your storyteller was Lex Lopez. Recording by Rebecca Steigelfest. This episode edited by Rob Muirhead. The music used in this episode was January Grunge Lovefest by Technoax. Visit them online at technoax.com, teknoax.com. Path of Night uses the 20th Anniversary Edition rule set of Vampire the Masquerade with a few limited house rules. Vampire the Masquerade and the Storyteller system are owned by Paradox Interactive. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at @PathOfNightPod, on Facebook at facebook.com/PathOfNightPodcast, or email us at pathofnightpodcast@gmail.com. See you next time, Kindred.
All of the accommodations for less sunlight-friendly people exist.
Less sunlight-friendly people. Okay.
I was trying to
It's
find...
like they might flip out and attack daytime.
Yes. Whatever.
Dayman is the fighter of the Nightman.
Look, people that take damage from being
Champion
in
of the
sunlight
sun.
and or die.
That's
all
karate.
people
And
eventually.
friendship. For
Oh
everyone.
my god. I quit this game forever.